Good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, August 17th, 2018. Happy Friday everyone. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous session, price rallied throughout much of the session but held between 28.45 and 28.52 for a while before dropping late in the day. Again, the ES showing some initial signs of defense off of the previous month's high. That blue line is very, very important. This is the previous month's high. 3 days above it and failed. Now it's come back to it, and bears are defending the zone for a shot at returning to lows, perhaps this time into 27.90. That's the level that's standing between 2700, 2703 and not. So that's a very important level, 27.90. Last time we got very close but bounced. This time, if price cannot establish acceptance beyond that 45 to 52 zone that I mentioned before, especially this previous month's high, that could open up a little bit more weakness. Overall, the market's been trending up, but at the same time, it hasn't really been trending up and pushing to new highs with force and with strength. It's just mostly been going sideways to up as we finish up the tail end of the summer here, and then into September we may see more volatility. It is options expiration today here, so we could be looking at a lot of back and forth throughout much of the day. But overall, market continues trending up. If it can get beyond this zone right here, could be quite bullish. Otherwise, this thing could have another retest back toward clear support at 27.90. Taking a look here at the NQ, you'll see here this one has shown a tendency to have a little bit more weakness than the ES. On the 3-day range, it had a failed high here above 7,500. Again, the 74.80s providing resistance, and then yesterday price not able to get back above 74.40 and instead dropping. So it's a pattern here of lower highs, lower lows, and again this thing could be on the verge of seeing a return back toward recent support. 7,200 would be the level. That would coincide very closely with that ES level of 27.90. But overall, this thing has shown a little bit more weakness here. We had Nvidia earnings come out yesterday. That price dropped right after hours, but for the most part, again, this market has been trending up overall, but we could stand to see a little bit more pullback so that bulls can get in a little cheaper. Taking a look here at, let's look at gold. I talked yesterday that gold was finally showing a significant rejection day. It held it throughout most of the session, and then toward the very end of the day it dropped back toward the midpoint and toward the point of absorption. So in the last hour of the day, it really gave up a little bit, but for the most part it's holding the midpoint here, the previous session's range, that midpoint 1178 to 1180. That's where you're seeing the absorption here develop over the next day or two or three. I'm going to give this one a second here to prove itself a little bit more, because remember, this thing has been extremely bearish, and even when it's had a significant rejection style day on these lows, it has had trouble bouncing right away. Instead, it's gone sideways and drifted. That's been the case every single time it's tried to find a low. It's just been sideways and drifting and never quite getting higher. So again, 1178 to 1180 is the absorption zone. Failure to hold that level could open up more lows, but the way it's developing right now, we could see another 2, 3, 4 days of development off that level before we see a bounce attempt into the 1220 to 1235 zone. Taking a look here at YM. This one, yesterday we mentioned that it was forming a nice rejection here and could be on the verge of a push higher if it can get above these recent highs here, 25,350. That was stellar, the breakout, a major stop run day, a perfect midpoint retest off the 25,150s that we talked about, and this thing just burst higher for a trend day up yesterday. Very, very strong. Exactly what we talked about could happen if this thing got going. It was a one-day wonder here, and now we're coming in and double topping here and showing some initial weakness above the previous month's close and previous month's high. That's been the case to begin the month, again and again. So are we going to see more weakness again, or is this going to see follow through? Right now, with the failed new high, that would suggest at least a little bit more of a pullback, perhaps as deep as the previous mid. But overall, this is a key zone up here that is starting to develop in the form of an expanding range. We could see more development of that pattern as well. If we take a look at XBT, Bitcoin, we talked about the buy opportunity below 6K. Only 3 times in the past since last December has it dropped below it, only being below it for a day or less, maybe a matter of hours. That was the case again here, and it's been a great buy up short term. The big thing here is 6,700 again. 6,700 was big last time when I said it's forming a box or forming, a rounded bottom. This time it's forming another little box here, and if it can get above 6,700, again, it's clear air to 8,000, maybe 8,200. It could be a nice bounce up. We have lower highs here, so I wouldn't overshoot it. Perhaps 7,500 to 8,000 might be even better. But again, it's that 6,700 here. Above that zone, we'll likely have a stop run day and a continuation that takes us to that target. So right now, building energy between 6K and 6,700, and eventually we may see expansion, which could be to the upside. All right, that is it for now. Let's see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and happy Friday.